Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today I'm opening the show with the very mind-boggling case of Mr. Sunday Jackson, a farmer in Kodomti, Nima local government, about 22-year-old in 2015 when this happened, who was in his farm when Hado Bubawo came in to eventually cause an attack using his knife during the wrestling, hit Mr. Sunday Jackson twice in the back and in the leg, whereupon there was wrestling and Jackson was able to retrieve the knife and then stabbed Mr. Ado, whereupon he died. And the matter has gone from the High Court to the Appeal Court, all the way to the Supreme Court last Friday, where it was decided that indeed Mr. Sunday Jackson is guilty of murder. Now, that is a very mind-boggling situation where you have somebody who was in his farm, who was attacked by with a knife of Mr. Ado, and then he is still guilty of murder. It doesn't seem to be something that we can explain without a lawyer. So to join me to try to, unravel this is the lawyer of Mr. Jackson, who took up the case from the appeal to the Supreme Court, Mr. Sonny Akoni. Mr. Sonny Akoni, learned counsel, welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you, Laulu.
Can you just tell us in a jiffy what this case is about?
Well, very simple. Sunday Jackson was on his farm on that fateful day, and he saw a Fulani man ran to him. And he simply asked, did you see some people who passed there a while ago?
And by the way, this was in Numa local government.
Yes. He said, no, I didn't see anything. And the next thing was the man pushed his heads of cattle into his farm. And of course, anybody will react. So he reacted. I said, why did you do this? And before you know it, the fight ensued. The next thing was he brought out his knife and they kept on struggling. Now, Sunday Jackson was stabbed at the back, on his head, at the back. And when he tried to defend it, the second stabbing, he was stabbed on the leg. And at that point, real fight began for their lives. According to his evidence, Sunday Jackson collected the knife and stabbed him thrice. And he was in the pool of his own blood, and he died. Now, the High Court of Yola convicted him.
Okay, so
of murder.
So this started in January 2015.
2015. Now, we came in to the matter at the Court of Appeal.
Which was when?
Which was, he was convicted in 2020 thereabout.
Okay.
We came in and filed an appeal for him because when I saw the judgment, I read it and I said, from a few Supreme Court decisions that I have read, I know that this is an issue of self-defense. And when you look at the Constitution of Nigeria, Section 33, subsection 2, it said if anybody dies in cause of protecting, his rights or life, of course you are absorbed.
Because it's considered
because it's called self-defense. And the Court of Appeal, in their wisdom, did not agree with my submission. So I appealed to the Supreme Court.
And this was a panel of 3 judges.
A panel of 3 judges. I appealed to Supreme Court in 2022. And the case was heard in December. We argued the appeal in December.
2022.
2024.
Oh, 2024.
And judgment was reserved to the 7th of March, 2025. Now we have had the judgment. The interesting thing about it is, I've not seen the judgment. But what I can say,
You've not seen the details.
I've not seen the details.
But you know the outcome.
I know the outcome. What I can say,
which is to affirm the appeal.
The appeal
ruling
was affirmed. The death sentence on him was affirmed by a majority decision. Now, the majority decision of the Supreme Court is 3.
Because it was a panel of 5.
It is a panel of 5. I know when the court said by majority decision.
Right.
It simply means it was not a unanimous decision. It simply means 1 or 2 of the justices of the Supreme Court dissented, didn't agree with the lead judgment. But of course, you know that the judgment of the Supreme Court is the lead judgment. It's the judgment of the majority.
Right.
Now, looking back at the case and looking back into the Nigerian jurisprudence on criminal law when it comes to self-defense, the first case that crossed my mind that I read very well was the case of Okombasi against the Queen in 1963. A fight ensued between Okon and, his supposed father-in-law.
Okay.
Nkoyo was the daughter of the father-in-law. Nkoyo married Okombasi and then went to the Cameroons for some time and came back. Nkoyo had a child for, Okombasi. By the time Okon went back the second time, his wife had been given to another man who equally has a child for that other man. So by the time Okombasi came, his house that were built together, the other house was built together with his father-in-law, but he owns the land. So they were staying there.
So the daughter who's in Koyo,
yes,
was living in the house where he also contributed to pay
with
the new husband.
So that problem came. So, and what Okombasi did was, he went to the elders and explained himself. And the elders told the 2 of them, pay a shilling each, and then come back for the judgment. By the time they got to the house, big fight ensued. Between Okombasi, the father-in-law, and his supposed wife.
Nkoyo.
So Okombasi killed Nkoyo, stabbed him there with a knife. And she died almost immediately. And the matter went to court. The Calabar High Court convicted Okombasi of murder. But interestingly, the Supreme Court discharged Okombasi because from the evidence you will see a bit of self-defense. Now come to the most interesting one that was decided in 1985 by our Supreme Court. Between 3 young men, Laoye against the states. The 3 of them were students of University of Ile-Ife. And that evening, they went to see their friend, Alaba, to collect a book. But they didn't see Alaba. And so the 3 of them came back to the campus. One of the friends was ahead of them. The 2 of them now had a quarrel over a girlfriend.
Okay.
And because the 2 of them had knives with them, fight ensued. Before you know it, one stabbed the other person retaliated and stabbed them hard, and he died.
So, and Laoye was the one that survived.
So, Laoye was the one that survived. Laoye Albert was the one that survived.
And so the state took him to court.
They took him to court. The High Court in Ile-Ife convicted him. But on manslaughter.
Was he charged for murder?
He was charged for murder.
But the court chose to convict him
for manslaughter.
Okay.
And gave him a imprisonment for 5 years.
Okay.
He appealed to Supreme Court. Nnamani of blessed memory wrote the lead judgment and discharged Laoye. that
on
the issue of self-defense.
And here we have
Sunday Jackson.
So Sunday Jackson, who was in his farm.
Sunday Jackson was not holding the knife. There are about 5 things when you are talking about self-defense that you needed to prove. Number 1, that the accused person or the defendant is not the aggressor. That you are not intending death to occur. That the force you used was commensurate to the force
that
put on you. Now, that there are circumstances in which maybe, yes. But now, you see, looking at Sunday Jackson's case, the judge said, Sunday Jackson should have dropped the knife and run away. And my argument, when I was before the Supreme Court, is that it's only Jackson that knows the story. He was the only one that saw the thing that happened. The medical doctor who came to testify just came to tender the postmortem evidence.
Yeah.
The police prosecution who came only said he recorded Sunday Jackson's statement. So it is the word of Sunday Jackson. And when you now look at that, and they just said, Sunday Jackson should have dropped the knife or run away. What I said in my brief of argument is this. We don't have the description of where the fight ensued. Is it a plain land? Is it a shrubs? Is it a forest? When you say somebody should run, you will have to look at the circumstances or the area. If it's in a wilderness or we said in a desert, if I'm running, you can see me. But at that time, the assailant still had a stick with them. And I said, a man who had a knife and a stick, can we completely say that Sunday Jackson was safe at that point?
You can't even assume that he had only one knife.
So and that was my argument. And that's why my joy is this, that there is a split decision.
Okay, so I'm not a lawyer, but I've read the defense of the lawyer at the High Court. I've read the ruling of the High Court also. I've not seen the judgment of the Supreme Court.
I've not seen it too.
Hopefully we'll get it.
Yes.
And just like you said, it seems to be a split decision. Now, it's also important to state that Sunday Jackson has been in detention since 2015.
In the last 10 years.
In the last 10 years.
10 years, 1 month.
All right. So now that this has gone all the way, and it's quite, it's something that is mind-boggling. How this wasn't manslaughter, and how, against all the facts that we know. Somebody sitting in his farm, and then an aggressor comes, and then, we are able, as a judicial system, to be able to say that, no. So we leave that to the court.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's why, they call them our
in their
laws.
Wisdom.
Yeah, in their wisdom. So what is open, what option is left? I understand that there is the prerogative of mercy.
Beautiful. Well, that is the option we are going to explore. I have gotten a few calls, and we are going to reach out to the governor of Adamawa State.
Okay.
A perfect gentleman.
So it's the governor that has the prerogative of mercy in this case.
On the table.
It's not the president.
No. Because
can you explain?
Beautiful.
Why?
When you have a federal offense, what is federal offenses?
Okay. So
and you have a state offense.
So
Sunday Jackson was, charged under the Adamawa State Administration of Criminal Justice Law.
Okay.
So that puts the whole story on the table of the governor.
Okay.
Through the Attorney General
of the state. Okay. So what do you think are his chances? And there was the procedure
beautiful for prerogative of mercy. They want to see the character. They want to see whether you are remorse. They want to see whether you have changed. They want to see whether you have good behavior. And once you have good behavior, there will be a recommendation. Usually in every state, they have a committee on prerogative of mercy. And the Attorney General usually is the chairman who will now recommend.
Yeah. Who are members of that committee?
Well, usually you have the Attorney General there. Sometimes you have civil society. Sometimes you have the members of the correctional center. You have the police. Because a lot of things will have to be looked into.
I see.
And before you know it, you know, once they assess those kind of a thing, pardon is easier.
It's easier. Well, I mean, we're just going to hope that Governor Fintiri, you know, is able to come to, you know, a favorable conclusion on this matter. But so what are the options in, you know, so the option includes, you know, you can reduce, you know, tell me what are the options that if you want to exercise the prerogative?
Well, it all depends. Sometimes we've seen people who are in prison sentenced to death. Whom will
be committed.
They are, you know, haven't spent so much time in the prison. They tell you can go home and sin no more. Sometimes we've seen state governors pay the fine for person in the prison and then allow you to go. Equally, you can say, oh, he was given 20 years sentence. Okay, you can serve 10 years and go home. And so in this instance, it's death sentence. And we are saying, well, he has spent 10 years in the prison already. As a young boy.
How old was he?
By now, he should be in his 30s.
Oh, wow. So this happened when he was in his 20s?
In fact, he was 22.
Wow. And is he married?
He had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. His wife has been married out.
In the course of this?
Oh, yes, in 10 years.
Is he a Christian or a Muslim?
He's a Christian. Sunday Jackson is a Christian. So these are the issues. And that's why, for some of us, in the human rights world, when a man is in prison, he's not the only one in prison. There are several other persons who are in prison with him.
True.
For example, for 10 years that, in fact, it was when Sunday Jackson was in the prison that his second child was born. So he has never seen that child.
Not even with a visit.
No, so how can he when he's awaiting trial? So Sunday Jackson had a child that he doesn't know. The child who doesn't know his father. Now, these are the issues when a man is in prison. He's not the only man that is in prison. A lot of people are in prison with him. His 2 children were in prison with him. And unless succor comes to them. For example, that poor little girl that was born after Sunday Jackson was in the prison. The girl does not know her father.
So now that the wife left him, who is taking care of the children?
The family members, his uncles.
Are his parents still alive?
Well, his mother is alive.
So he was a 20-year-old farmer, you know.
22 years at that time. And having spent 10 years, now in his early 30s.
It's a very, you know, mind-boggling case because, you know, there are all kinds of undercurrents that people might suspect about this thing that we don't want to talk about, you know, because we don't want to aggravate issues. But it's very important, you know, that our system takes cognizance of some of the potential of this kind of a thing. You know, it's first of all, it will scare you. You know, because common sense. You know, let's put the law aside. You know, I mean, let's put common sense. When you hear this story, common sense. Somebody was sitting in his farm. That's number one. Number two, the instrument of the murder, quote unquote, belonged to the aggressor.
Absolutely. You know, he had the knife. He had the stick.
The aggressor, who was the herder, who came to his farm, brought a knife. Not only what did he bring, he brought it out. You know, not only that, he used it first. So when you think about it, for common sense, landed attorney, it's really, really mind-boggling. But you lawyers know how you do the magic, and we are trusting and hoping that Governor Fintiri will be able to use the prerogative of mercy because it is this case has taken an international dimension.
Of course it has. I've gotten a lot of calls from outside this country.
Since last week when
they wanted to see the judgment, and I said I don't even have it myself. But one thing I can tell you is this: the lead judgment has affirmed, or the majority decision has affirmed the Court of Appeal decision.
Right.
I have not seen the split decision.
Yeah.
So I can't say what. But when I was in court, I knew the appeal was dismissed. Yes.
Yeah.
By a majority decision. So it simply means there are dissenting decisions.
Yeah, do you know whether it's 3-2 or 4-1?
I don't know for now, but I know there is a dissenting decision.
All right. Yeah. That dissenting decision is a big ray of hope, which can also even help, at least in the psychological dimension of the prerogative of mercy.
Certainly. Certainly.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sonny Akoni, for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you,
and thank you for the work, because I can imagine how it can be very emotionally draining also.
Yes, it does.
To have been involved in this kind of very, and like I said, I've read the rulings of the High Court, and, I
can assure you that I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't sleep. Because when I look at what I have done, and I've looked at the Supreme Court decision in the past, when I looked at Okombasi against the Queens, I looked at the matter, I said, I'm home, I'm dry. But you see, in the court's wisdom, and the Supreme Court is final.
It's final. But at least in this case, we have the prerogative of mercy.
That is it.
And hopefully, Governor Fintiri, the ball is in your court, and we are really, really hoping that you take a very good look and save our conscience as a people in this kind of matter. Thank you so much, Mr. Akoni.
Thank you
for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm grateful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.